Now, it's very interesting. There are certain times when what is happening in the world dovetails nicely into what the Lord has put on my heart to talk to you about for the week. Now, those of us in the United States, and I meant to check this last night, but I forgot, but I'm pretty sure the rest of the world knows about it as well. And those in the truck, I meant to check this is where I know Reuters. So check to see if SVB, the bank I had never heard of, Silicon Valley Bank, if there's an article in Reuters, I wanted to check Reuters. I wanted to check Al Jazeera, and then I wanted to check a newspaper over in Korea or Japan, and also the major newspaper in Liberia or in Africa somewhere. Because I'm pretty sure the last week or so, this bank, which nobody had heard of, which has now gone under, that I think it's all over the world. Oh, I also wanted to check a news organization in Latin America. So you can put it in our private host chat. I actually have that up and let me know if there's been a story from all different parts of the world on SVB. Now, are you folks like me that I had never heard of this bank, Silicon Valley Bank? I'm basically it's like only people probably in Silicon Valley, or obviously if you had money in the bank, would know about this bank. But this bank, believe it or not, had over $200 billion of assets in it just a few weeks ago. And regretfully, now that it has gone belly up, or crashed and burned, or whatever terminology you want to use, most likely, and I don't want to get into too much. I've been studying a little bit on this. It seems that this was a bank where many venture capitalists put their money. So they actually put in way more money than what the FDIC, the Federal Insurance Company of the United States, where your money is insured by the United States up to $250,000 US. Well, these folks had much more than that, and anything above that is not insured. And so, what really should happen is that all of these people, anything above 250,000, you lose. But if you've been following anything in the States, that doesn't seem like it's going to happen. It seems that, from what I can tell, the United States government's going to bail out pretty much everybody. And so, you know what that means for us US citizens? We're going to bail out all of those investors. Yes, with our tax dollars. But that's a story for another day. So I don't want to go there at this time. So, but I do have a question for you. I do have a question for you. And I'm actually going to put this for those of us uh, what can I say? Oh, thank you. I do see in my chat that it is everywhere. Okay, thank you for those of you in the truck. Yes, checked Al Jazeera everywhere. Okay, really appreciate that. So here's the question, which I'm going to give out to everybody. So let me get my. If let's go back to the pandemic about a year and a half ago, November of 2021. SVB had a stock price of almost $750 per share. My question for you is this. If I told you that in less than a year and a half, this company is going to crash, it's going to go out of business, and I have ironclad proof to show you that was definitely going to happen, would you still invest invested money with them? Keep putting money in there, even though you know that they were going out of business. Would you? Now, you got to put, I'm saying this is November 2021. Now, in November 2020, 2021, where they're almost at $750 per share, I think exactly they're like 733, 735 or something like that. The previous 18 months, year and a half before then, your money has more than quintupled. More than quintupled. So you're riding high, making tons of money, and I'm out of nowhere, no one, but I'm telling you, and I have all the proof. And you read it, you're an expert in this area, you know, it's like all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed. What do you do? The interesting thing today is that Jesus, as we're following, as you, those of you who are new, we are following Jesus chronologically. And so we're currently still on the Sermon on the Mount. And Jesus is actually going to talk about today, why do we, including me, keep investing in SVBs? Yes, we're investing in Silicon Valley banks. They're doing really, really well at this time, but we know, or he's telling us, you're really investing in SVBs. And you're like thinking to me now, well, what are you talking about, Kyle? What does that mean? Well, that's the title of today's sermon today, and we're going to get into it. Is we know the bank is going to fail. It's kind of a long. I couldn't make it any smaller and shorter. Excuse me. I wasn't able to make it any shorter and kind of snappier. So it's kind of a long title this time. But we know the bank is going to fail, but we keep investing there anyway. We know the bank is going to fail, but we keep investing there anyway. Let's pray. Oh Lord. Lord, thank you for discernment. Thank you for your grace. Lord, please help me to have compassion in communicating this message. It may step on some people's toes, including my own, which it always does every week. But please just let it be your voice that comes out from these vocal cords. Please, please let it be your voice. And you're I'm getting something else. This is so critical for us as followers of Christ to get right. And I know for myself, I'm just going to speak to, I get this wrong so often because my heart is not in the right place. And Jesus, as we start going through this part of the Sermon on the Mountain, so this is the first message in a number of messages that are coming dealing with this. Lord, please, 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 I ask you to open the hearts of people to see your teaching on this and to help them, Holy Spirit, remind them, convict them of of what we should be doing each and every time we use the resources that you have blessed us with, Lord. Lord, just help me just be a part of your people who is learning more and more of your hearts in this. I do not want to come across as farther ahead or holier than thou. I just want to be your messenger, Father. In Jesus Christ's name I pray. Amen. All right, so let's go to our first scripture, well, where we are in following Jesus, which is Matthew 6, chapter 6, verses 19 through 21. Matthew 6, verses 19 through 21. And Jesus is speaking. Do not lay up for yourselves treasure on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Praise be to God for his word. So as we start with this, and I, many times, or actually hopefully I do it all the time, we must understand the context of the situation of who is speaking and who they are speaking to. So we know this is Jesus speaking, and he's teaching on this mountain, or it's also called the Sermon on the Plain, depending on who you listen to. But he's speaking predominantly to a Jewish audience, to Israelites in first century Palestine. So we always must remember their context is from their holy book, their Hebrew scriptures, which is the Old Testament. So we need to be clear on this as to what they're thinking in regards to anything. So if we're going back and we look at this, Jesus is talking about treasures, he's talking about money, and he's saying, don't lay it up on earth. Don't do that. But what is the Jewish mind of that time when they think about treasure and they think about money when people have that? What are they thinking? What was spoken of in their holy scriptures? So we're going to go to three scriptures, and there's many more, but Proverbs, I'm going to have put up the one I think it talks about money blessings is the one that, if you bring that up, okay, that is good. And now I added this late, so I'm actually going to have live TV. I actually have to move it so I can see what it is because I actually forgot to put this back into my notes. So I go off camera for a little bit and I turn and I move it so I can see. All right. And thankfully, my glasses are working well, so I actually can see this. All right, so we're going to start at Proverbs 22:4. Proverbs 22:4. And it reads, the reward for humility and fear of the Lord is riches and honor and life. Okay. The reward for humility and fear of the Lord is riches, honor, and life. And I apologize for those of you who are on our online church. Normally, I have the notes, and I do have the notes there, but regretfully, like I said, I made this change just before we got started. I needed to add these. So these scriptures are not there. So you may have to note that. All right, number two, Proverbs 28:20a, which is the first part of that proverb. Proverbs 28:20a. A faithful man will abound with blessings. A faithful man will abound with blessings. Last one, and there's more I could have used. Proverbs 21, chapter 21, verse 5a. Again, the first part of it. Okay. And also, yeah, 21 5a. The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance. The plans of the diligent, please, sorry, I said diligence, diligent lead surely to abundance. Okay, so I hope you see there, and there's many, many more. It's like, well, wait a minute. I understand from scripture that if I am doing well, if I am making money, then I must be doing well with God. If I have money here on this earth, when I read those scriptures, and there are others, I must be doing well. And as we go to the NIV Application Bible Commentary, and I might have had that a little bit out of order, so it's the NIV Application Bible Commentary, that slide. I'm going to read from that specifically so you can hear what, again, experts in this, and I can give you other commentaries of what they talk about. I thought this was a good one to help you understand that mind. Now, I gave you the scriptures, but I'm also going to give you a little more detail here. And I quote, material wealth was important to the people of Israel since it was often seen as a sign of God's blessing and the reward for obedience to him. One ancient rabbi said, and this is from the Talmud, a man should always teach his son a cleanly or easy craft, and let him pray to him to whom riches and possessions belong. For there is no craft wherein there is not both poverty and wealth. So basically, what this rabbi is saying, that every craft, anything that you can do in it, can be poverty, where you don't make a lot of money, or wealth, where you do make a lot of money. Okay? So what he is then saying, and now I continue, for poverty comes not from a man's craft, nor riches from a man's craft, but all is according to his merit, how he is as a person. Because if you look back, to whom riches and possessions belong, all of that, everything, riches and possessions belong to God. Read the Old Testament, it talks about the cattle on 1,000 hills. Let me restate that. The cattle on 1,000 hills, everything that anyone has belongs to God. As you know, well, maybe we have some new people here. We took a 12-week session talking about finances. And one of the things, when we looked in scripture very clearly, Old Testament and New, but we're dealing with the Old Testament here because that's the audience who is listening. They know there are an abundance of scriptures that say everything is the Lord's. So, what this rabbi and what the scriptures that I just showed you and others intimate, and what people embraced at that time, is that if I am a good person, I am doing things well, I'm going to have a lot of money. So, having a lot of money indicated that I am right with God. That's what a lot of people have taken from that. And we know now in the 21st century, in 2023, when I'm making this, there are a lot of Christians who believe that too. There's a lot of Christians, many Christians, pastors, teachers who preach that too, who preach that. You're making a lot of money. What was it? Health, wealth, and prosperity. You hear that now. This is not new. But the challenge is, got to read all the Bible. There's a challenge where it seems we focus on what we like. I know that's me. We focus on what makes us feel good. And I'm going to show you that the Old Testament doesn't teach just because you have money, you're right with God. It doesn't. It's pretty amazing here when you're going to take a look at this, because I'm going to give you three scriptures, and there's more, that refutes that idea. And I think that's the slide that says, I think, no, yeah, not just money. Thank you. Not just money. So I'm going to start with Proverbs, and I'm sticking in Proverbs. So all of this is in Proverbs. The ones that said, hey, yes, but I want you to look very closely to what you see on the screen. But I'm going to start with Proverbs 10:2. Proverbs chapter 10, verse 2. Treasures gained by wickedness do not profit, but righteousness delivers from death. Oh, wait a minute. So it's very clear right there. Treasures gained by wickedness do not profit. So just if you are getting money the wrong way, no. That's not a good thing. But I really want you to look at the next two. And those of you who are online, I want you, do you notice something interesting about those two scriptures? Proverbs 28, verse 20, and Proverbs 21, verse 5. You can put it in the chat if you notice. They're the same two that I just did a little earlier, where I just did the first part. I did that on purpose. So let's do all of Proverbs 28:20. A faithful man will abound with blessings, but whomever hastens to be rich will not go unpunished. Whoa, wait a minute now. Whoa. Whoever hastens to be rich will not go unpunished. So even right in that same proverb, it gives you context of like, no, just being rich. No. That's not it. And let's go to Proverbs 21:5. Remember, I just gave you 21:5a. The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty. So, and there's others in the Old Testament that talk about righteousness and how righteousness in God's kingdom is more important. So it's not just about money. It's not, that does not necessarily mean that you're good with God. It doesn't mean it necessarily at all. Now, blessings, I want you to notice certain words that were used there sometimes. One of the times I used specifically said blessings. Now, lots of times we feel, again, Old Testament, blessings meant money, livestock, land, many times. But that's where, for example, many times when you read in the Old Testament, what they were seeing, the people at that time, and then what rabbis were teaching, Jesus has come to help them to rightly understand what was being spoken by the prophets. And so he's clarifying, helping them to understand this, because if you go back to verse 19 in Matthew, he is specifically saying, and I'm going to read again, do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal. So even on this side of eternity, okay, and I'm going to talk about the other side of eternity in a minute, but even on this side of eternity, we know that it's temporal, and it may be very temporal, where we've had a flood here in the house and destroyed stuff. I've had cars broken into. I've had materials stolen. How many of us now have had our identity stolen, or people used your credit or debit cards? Why? And Jesus is saying, why put your faith in that? Because let's even talk about the other side of eternity. Even if, even if, let's say none of that stuff ever happens to you, and you're able to store up, have, what was it? Not to, from my understanding, I'm not trying to beat up this person, and I pray that he has sought the Lord for having the multiple houses, but I'll just say there's a Senate candidate from an eastern state who actually lost. I think he had like 7 or 8 houses or something like that. Let's say, and so I can't imagine how many servants you have and just being able to take care of all that stuff. And I can't even fathom. But let's say no one ever stole anything from him. No one ever breaks into his house. He didn't invest in any banks that went under for his entire life. Let's say that happened. What happens when he dies or she dies? What happens? What happens to all that stuff? Can't take it with you. No matter how much the Egyptian pharaohs tried to do that, burying all of that stuff with themselves, what sort of investment is that? You know that, again, if you believe now, if you're someone who's watching this right now and your worldview right now is humanistic or secular, whatever you believe, you don't believe in an afterlife, you don't believe there's a God, you just believe this is all there is, you're evolutionary, you believe in evolution, and you believe that once this physical body dies, that's it. Well, if that's the case, then that makes sense. This is all you have. This is all you have. This, even at the best, I think the oldest person recently was 118 years old. So let's say we keep getting a little better. Let's say you have 100 people being born now, you get 150 years. Like medical stuff goes really good. 150 years. How does 150 years compare to 10,000 times 10,000 times 10,000 times 10,000 times 10,000? Oh, yes, times 10,000. The infinitesimal that I have in my notes, the tiny, 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 doing my best confessions of a shopaholic, for those of you who know that. This lifetime is for those of us who do believe in an eternity, do believe that we live on after this current realm. Why would I invest? And this is what Jesus is trying to get across to us, is why would any believer in Jesus Christ invest in a bank you know is going to fail? Why would I desire to take the resources, as mentioned earlier in the scriptures, that all the blessings, everything God owns, so anything that quote unquote I have, which is not mine, I like to prefer to say I steward, why would I put it into temporal pleasures? And that hits me hard. It still hits me hard because I'm going, I still do that. I know this, but I still do this. I I took this I note. I did look this up. The five richest people in the world. Bernard Arnault, I think that's Christian Dior stuff. Bill Gates, hopefully everybody knows that's Microsoft, Elon Musk, Tesla, and other things. Jeff Bezos, Amazon, and Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway. Those are the five richest as of I think March 11th. And obviously, depending on what the stock market does for Gates, Musk, Bezos, and Buffett, that's going to vary a lot depending on what's happening there. Put all of their money together. And no matter how many yachts you buy or villas you buy or whatever, why would I invest in what I want on this side of eternity as opposed to investing in what the greatest, the lock, ironclad, rock solid, never going to be stolen, taken away, destroyed investment that I put in the treasury of God, which I will have for trillions and trillions and trillions of years. And I will be able to withdraw from for forever. If we say that we love God and we say we are living for Him, which is what I said, we're supposed to love God with our heart, mind, soul, body, everything. What were we created for? To bring glory to God. So while we are here, what are we supposed to do? Bring glory to God, not pleasure ourselves. And I'm talking to myself. I can't, I don't even want to think about how much money of how, let me restate this, how much of God's money I have wasted on myself or on my desires. And quote unquote, it may be good things that may have helped people, or I thought helped people. But if I did not first seek the Lord in whatever I give or gave, that's wrong. We are here to glorify Him. We are here to use the resources He gives us to glorify Him, to allocate it in those areas. And Jesus is trying to tell us succinctly and firmly, going up to verse 20 again for Matthew, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. Now we're going to move to verse 21, which is a very interesting verse. And it's so amazing. You read and you hear about stuff in the Bible so many times. However, there's always something more to learn. I can't remember how many times. I can honestly say this one's probably over 50, maybe even 100 times. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. That is very, very powerful. And it kind of seems kind of backward too, because you're like, okay, wait, shouldn't it be where my heart is? Then if my heart's there, then my treasure is following along. That's really how I've always read that. That's kind of how I thought. But you know what? Jesus said it that way for a reason. And we're going to bring up the theology of work commentary because this really struck me this week in talking about this. This really did strike me. So I quote, money changes the heart more than the heart decides how to handle money. I'm going to say that again. Money changes the heart more than the heart decides how to handle money. Jesus' point is not you tend to put your money into things that matter to you, but the possessions you own will change you so that you care more about them than about other things. I'm going to say that again. That is so powerful. The possessions you own, and I would prefer to say the possessions that you stored, will change you so that you care more about them than about other things. Therefore, and I'm still quoting from the Theology of Work commentary, choose carefully what you own, for you will inevitably begin to value and protect it to the potential detriment of everything else. Wow. Wow. This is so true. This is so true. Now, I'm not going to say we are not supposed to be wise with God's resources. You can switch me back because we are. The Bible is full of passages about being a wise steward of the blessings that God has given us. And as I've already mentioned, we did a 12-part finances series on God's financial principles, and I'll put the link in the comments below for those of you who have not listened to that. But I have seen us, myself included, get trapped on what we quote unquote own. You can pick your own challenge, and I have multiple challenges, but I'm going to pick one challenge which I still have. So the one I'm picking that again challenges me, and the Lord has brought me a long way here, but I'm still struggling with it, even knowing what I'm teaching you, I have in this message today. I really enjoy driving. Oh, I enjoy driving. I enjoy how a car hugs the road as I go through the twists and turns of a country road on a fall day, like a brisk 60 degrees sunny fall day with the leaves turning here in Virginia. I love to hear the throaty resonance of an engine perfectly tuned for peak performance. The thrill of downshifting, yes, McGlottons, we love manual transmissions because there's nothing like downshifting into a curve and not using your brake and being able to go through that turn and then shifting properly out of it and accelerating on a straight and like passing everybody. I know, but within the speed limit. Oh, the joy. So I enjoy cars that aren't slow. But those sorts of cars, performance cars, are not cheap. They're not cheap to purchase, and they're not cheap to maintain. They're not even cheap for the gas. You got to pay more for the gas. This has been a struggle for me because I don't want to get ascetic or ascetic, where I do believe there's sometimes God will communicate to us. I want you to have this. I want you to have a vacation, or I want you to. I'm not saying that never happens. It does happen. But I know for me, I try to make it happen more than I believe me really seeking God and listening to the Holy Spirit when it comes to using His money, His resources. Because when you really think of the billions and billions of people who are suffering throughout the world, how can we as Christians, knowing our brothers and sisters in the faith are suffering so much, and just humanity is suffering so much, that I don't seek the Lord for any and everything? You've heard me talk about this before, how we're here on mission. We are soldiers for the Lord. This is not playtime. I'm talking to me, and if the Lord is speaking to you, I pray He's convicting you too. I don't always get this right. I'm not saying I do, but what I'm saying is, if we as the children of God seriously with any and everything said, Lord, how do you want me to use these resources you have blessed me with, no matter how big or how small, and our heart, and you say, Lord, please do in me whatever you need to do. So my focus is on the treasures I'm laying up in heaven. Not trying to get my heart is like, okay, and this reminds me of my issue, which used to be, it's better. And I'm not getting into, we're not going to have the debate of tithing or not, but tithing was a huge issue for me. I believe we still should tithe, but I totally respect people who don't believe tithing is for today. That's fine. But the point for me was I had to tithe first, and then my heart came afterwards. So what Jesus said here, and what I'm really finally getting in 21 is like, yes, he's right. So it's not about our feelings. Yes, the Lord loves a cheerful giver. Yes. Yeah, you see that, but again, but the Lord, read the whole context of scripture, the Lord wants this. What's the number one? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and body. And I love the Lord, and I love him so much that I'm going to do what is painful, what's uncomfortable, which I know he has told me to do, even if my feelings aren't there at this time. This is hard. I'm not saying this is easy. This is really hard. This is dying to yourself. This is putting yourself on the altar. And we're going to be talking about this more and more because the verses coming after this deal with this even more in more detail. So I'm very excited about this. But I need to come to a close here. We are very blessed to actually have an Amazon best-selling author as part of our congregation. And this person in the book, which is the bestseller called Living Backward, Is our book that we use here at a church in the world when new people come into the church or whatever, first thing we make sure that they have is they have a Bible. And if you're part of a church in the world right now and you've joined us and wherever you are in your location, you don't have a Bible, please let us know and we will work to make sure we get you a Bible. The second step, like I said, now obviously we have a training class, our affirmation of faith class, we have that as well. But then we want to get you the Living Backward book. And you would say, oh, well, you're kind of biased. If you know me at all, those of you who know, I'm actually, this one of the gifts God has given me. I can be pretty objective even with people I love. Now, obviously, this is the person I love more than anything in the world besides Jesus, and is actually Angelique Cooper McLaughlin is the writer of this. Our own mommy, for those of you out in uh, Liberia and Kenya, I know you call her mommy all the time. And so I to say she does a fabulous job on this is an understatement in my opinion, humble opinion. But you read the book for yourself. We had a pastor just come up to her for the second time, just tell her how fabulous Living Backward is. Someone we respect, and if I said their name, you would know who they were, but I'm going to respect the privacy because he came and told her privately on that. So we're going to take a couple of excerpts over the next few weeks on this. And so this is from Living Backward. The money God entrusts to us is eternal investment capital. Every day allows us to buy up more shares in his kingdom and augment and diversify our eternal portfolio. As the maxim goes, you can't take it with you, but you can send it ahead. Why would we prefer short term transient pleasures over forever imperishable treasures? Inexhaustible rewards God promises us for being good managers of his resources. It's the most foolish investment we can ever make. Close quote. I beg you, man. All, hmm, I don't know what your SVB is. I don't know what it is. Or SVBs when it comes to me. There's multiple things which I need to do a better job of, like seeking the Lord. Lord, okay, is this, there are starving people in Pakistan who I hear about all the time. We need to be wise because we have to be careful. We don't want to throw God's money to people who may be begging and stuff who will use it inappropriately. But our heart, our mindset has to be, our heart, where's the treasure? Where is our treasure? Our heart will come. Our heart will come. This, Lord, help us. I beg you, help us to seek you first, to ask the Spirit of God who lives in us to have his way in all areas of our life. I don't want to give to any SVBs in my life. I want everything to be invested in I should have thought of an acronym, but the God's financial, was it savings and trust? GST, God's savings and trust. Because I trust you, Lord, not me. I trust your promises, not what a bank, not what a government, not what a politician, not what they say, even if they have the best of intentions. Help us to believe your promises, Lord. Help us to start investing in treasures in heaven, whether our heart is there right now or not. The more we focus on treasures in your eternal kingdom, the more we will learn to delight and enjoy and relish the opportunity of being a part of your transformational work you are doing here on this fallen planet. We beg you this, Lord, in Jesus' name. Amen.